Blue whales are the largest animals ever known to have existed, reaching lengths of up to 100 feet and weights of up to 200 tons. They're generally found in every ocean except the Arctic, either living solitary lives or traveling in loose, temporary pairs. Rather than sight, they rely heavily on sound because they spend most of their time in deep, low-visibility waters. Their low-frequency calls some of the loudest and deepest sounds produced by any animal, and something us humans are unable to hear, are their primary tool for long-distance communication across the vast ocean. Blue whales communicate to find mates, to coordinate movement and migration, and to stay connected in the dark when other whales can be hundreds or even thousands of miles away. So, how do they do it? Before exploring how blue whales communicate, it's important to understand some of the issues related to communication in the ocean. First of all, light disappears quickly underwater. Since water absorbs light rapidly, sunlight reaches only about 200 meters deep, known as the photic zone. Below that, it's almost completely dark, and so visual communication doesn't work too well. As a result, of course, animals at these depths will need other ways to communicate. Some animals above water rely heavily on scent as a means of communication. Think, for example, tigers, which spray a mixture of urine and scent gland secretions to mark their territory. This is a problem underwater because chemical signals like pheromones diffuse slowly and spread unpredictably, so not ideal for long-distance communication. Now, when we look at sound, this is where things get interesting. Sound moves 5 times faster in water than in air. We're talking about 1,500 meters per second, ideal for long-distance communication. But there's another aspect we need to consider. Near the surface, water is warmer, and sound tends to bend upwards and escapes into the air, where it's lost. Deeper down, the pressure is immense. Sound bends downwards and eventually gets absorbed by the seafloor. But there's a sweet spot, known as the SOPAR channel, which stands for Sound Fixing and Ranging, and it's considered the perfect broadcast zone for blue whales. Usually at about 600 to 1,000 meters, where the SOPAR channel is located, water temperature and pressure balance perfectly. Sound waves get trapped and can travel thousands of miles with almost no loss of energy. It's understood that through a combination of learning and instinct, blue whales dive down to the SOPAR channel region with the intent to communicate. So how do they do it? Whales don't have vocal cords like humans. Instead, they have a complex system of larynx, muscles, and a unique U-shaped structure in their throat. It's believed that they produce sounds by moving air between massive air sacs in their head, which vibrate the whale's tissues and muscles, creating a deep, powerful call. A good way to describe it is like a low-frequency rumble emanating from deep within their massive bodies. A large part of a blue whale's call is infrasound, meaning the call is so low and deep that it's below the range of human hearing. The benefit is that low-frequency sound waves have a lot of energy and long wavelengths, and combining that with the ideal delivery system of the SOPAR channel means they can travel for hundreds or thousands of miles with very little loss of energy. And when another whale receives the call, often across the length of an entire ocean, it demonstrates another remarkable capability of blue whales: their sense of hearing. Blue whales have specialized hearing adapted for low frequencies. Not only do they hear the sound, but they also feel it. They have special anatomical features that make them incredibly sensitive to vibration. A blue whale's skull, for example, acts as a kind of antenna, with vibrations transmitted directly through the bone to the inner ear, bypassing any need for an external ear. Also, their lower jawbone is filled with a special fat that acts like an acoustic funnel. Vibrations in the water travel up this jawbone fat directly to their middle and inner ears. With a body that can be over 100 feet long, a huge amount of surface area is in contact with the water. It's understood that they can sense vibrations through their sensitive bone structure and blubber, allowing them to detect the powerful infrasonic rumbles of other whales. Okay, so we know how they call and how they hear. But what exactly are they saying and how do blue whales respond? It turns out we don't fully understand the exact meaning of each call, but we do have a good understanding of their main purposes. One purpose is for a male to express his desire to mate. The louder the call, the greater the expression of physical power. Also, the ability to consistently produce these energetically expensive calls for hours demonstrates a high level of fitness. To translate, the message is, "I'm here and I'm quite the specimen." A receptive female, upon hearing the male's call, may choose to move towards him, but there's a lot of competition to attract females, and so other males may compete by increasing their call rate or dropping their frequency lower. Blue whales also make calls to broadcast their presence, even if mating isn't the intention. It's a way of saying, just so you know, this is where I am. It's a particularly useful thing to know if you're a 150-ton whale and want to avoid a collision in the ocean where visibility can be extremely poor. Recipients of the call often respond by either returning a similar call or quietly adjusting their course. And then there's feeding. Blue whales feed almost exclusively on krill, with an adult eating up to 4 to 8 tons of these shrimp-like crustaceans every day. There's some research that suggests blue whales make calls to alert other whales of an abundant food source. It's not entirely clear why they do this. One hypothesis is reciprocation. While the caller shares the food, it gains a critical long-term advantage. Tomorrow, it might be the one that's hungry and needs to be called to a food patch by another whale. Another theory is that having other blue whales in the vicinity can help concentrate the krill, making it easier to feed on them. But the researchers and scientists are still deciphering the meanings of their vocalizations. Unfortunately, there's a problem, and in many cases when it comes to the animal world, the problem is us human beings. The oceans today are filled with human-made low-frequency noise such as commercial shipping, naval sonar, and oil and gas exploration. These sounds are drowning out whale calls and disrupting their ability to communicate. Calls that once would have traveled 1,000 kilometers may only reach half that distance. Changing temperatures are also shifting the depth of the SOPAR channel, meaning that whales are doing what they've always done, but the ocean no longer delivers their message the same way. Blue whales are an endangered species with a global population of 10,000 to 25,000, a minuscule number compared to the estimated 250,000 or even more that roamed the oceans before intensive whale hunting in the 20th century. The result is that it becomes harder for the remaining widely scattered whales to find each other. All of these issues result in some blue whales choosing not to vocalize at all when it's too noisy, effectively cutting off contact with others, and some whales abandon certain regions which were previously important feeding grounds or breeding areas. But blue whales are resilient animals, and they're tackling these issues through behavioral and communication adaptations. Some whales have been observed calling louder in response to nearby shipping noise, and some are changing the pitch of their calls and even changing their timings. But it's important to frame this correctly. Blue whales are adapting, but the root problem persists. And these adaptations come with high costs. Making louder calls and changing diving patterns requires more energy. Time spent avoiding noise is time not spent feeding, breeding, or resting. And so it comes down to us to do our part, using quieter ship technologies and routing shipping lanes away from critical whale habitats, establishing marine protected areas, and adhering to international conventions. Blue whale populations are recovering from the near decimation of large-scale commercial whaling, but the responsibility is ours to make sure it continues.